morning, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Good morning.
Glad you're all here. Okay, we're going to just start with a word of prayer. Let's pray together. Okay. We're going to start with a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for this morning, for this weekend, for the beautiful sunshine outside. And I pray, Lord, that your love will fill our hearts and that it will shine through us so that we will bring your love to others and that they will know that we belong to you as your children. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Amen.
Have a good sleep last night? Good.
So we were talking about why marriages succeed or fail, and one of the books we referred to was John Gottman's book by that title, Why Marriages Succeed or Fail. And we talked about how the ratio must be for the masters versus the disasters. The ratio must be what for the masters? Yep. 5 to 1, right? So 5 to 1 positive to negative ratio. And if it's not, then it will cascade towards the dissolution of the relationship or the divorce of the relationship. So he refers to the masters versus the disasters. Okay. It's the microphone's going out. That one is. Maybe I'm standing in the wrong spot. Maybe
I guess it's probably the battery or something.
No, it's a brand new body. Sorry, guys.
This one's better.
that one's okay.
Never happen. Only on Sundays.
Only on Sundays.
Only on Sundays.
Thank you, Domingo.
It seems like it's better now, Pastor. I guess if we stay.
It's quite.
Is that better now? No.
Probably. It's not the lights. Give us 1 more minute.
Sure, I'll give you 1 more minute.
So did everyone sleep well last night? Yes. Oh, yes. Good. That's good. Did you have a good gym night? It was short. Yeah. How was the gym night for you? Yeah? Awesome. Okay. Good. I really enjoyed it. It's so good for the whole family and children and everyone to get involved in a gym night like that. And when you have them on a regular basis, so good. I think everyone enjoys it. I know we did.
I know it's great that you're doing it every Saturday evening too. Like, that's wonderful.
Do you do that every Saturday evening?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you do that? Yeah. That's awesome. That's really good.
Okay.
Do we need to be standing in a certain spot?
No, I think it's okay for something.
Last night you used it in the same way, right? And it works, right? Yeah. Last night you used it in the same way.
So one of the things I want to prime your mind to get ready for is when we complete our talk today or our exercises
Today, we want you to think about what is a treasure that you took away from this weekend? A treasure that you took away from this weekend. And also, a trash that you want to throw away from your life. Okay? So think about that. A treasure that you took away and you want to hold on to, and some trash that you want to throw away from your life. Okay? There we go. So the masters versus the disasters. What's the difference?
So the masters were very gentle with each other. The masters are very gentle with each other. And
Try again. I think they're conflicting with the frequency because they're in the same. Try it again.
the masters are very gentle with each other.
share the mic.
Yeah, share the mic.
Okay.
Good. And so the type of conversation that you would see with those who were a 5-to-1 ratio, as he would identify them as the masters. They would say things like this when there's a conflict. That is odd. I don't understand why they are behaving like this. So this is their thoughts towards their partner. It is completely out of character. I may not be able to decode their behavior, but I am going to choose to believe the best about them and try to understand. Is that a different kind of a mindset? It's a beautiful mindset, to be able to think, I'm going to think the best about you and not the worst. Even if you're saying things that are totally out of character. So when I think of that, I always think of a young man who was in my class when I was teaching English in South Africa. He stood up in class, just out of the blue, and started shouting at me, and actually swearing at me, and calling me names. And I was teaching over in this part of the classroom, and he started shouting at me. And so everyone kind of looked at him, and he was just shouting and carrying on. And I realized, this is a good kid. Something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. So I wasn't thinking of lashing out at him. I was thinking, how can I help this child? So I went over to him and I said, come, let's go. And so he kept shouting at me, but he kept walking. So he walked out of the class. We walked all the way to the vice principal's office together, him shouting the whole way. And then when we got there, the vice principal said, come on in. And we sat down and we said, now what's going on? And he started crying. And he said, my mother and father were fighting this morning, and my mother walked out and she said she's going to get a divorce. So was that my fault? Did I have anything to do with it? No. But for him to take out his emotions on me, I think he felt like I was a safe person, and he could just explode all of what was going on inside, right? And so if you see that, when you look at someone in your family or your partner, and you see them saying something to that effect to you, you think the best. You don't think the worst. You think, this is out of character. I wonder what's going on, right? And so you don't explode back. Because if you exploded back, that would not look good, right? So the whole purpose of this is to show how love is medicine and is very good for us.
By observing couples, this is what John Gottman did in his studies. By observing couples' interaction during the last trimester of pregnancy, they were able to predict the child's temperament just by studying how the parents argued or didn't in the last trimester. Isn't that amazing? Like, our behavior and how we interact, our relationship, is going to affect our baby in the last trimester. So that's really big.
So what do you think's happening there? What do you think's happening to the child? How is it making the child's temperament different? Something's happening in the chemistry of the brain of the child as they're being developed, right? And so there's certain neurological, connections that are being made or not being made at that time, and it's obviously having an effect on their neurological development.
Also, the stress of what the mother is going through is going to affect her unborn baby. So the determining factor for the happiness of marriage for both men and women was the quality of the couple's friendship. So it's important to be friends in your marriage and in your relationship with each other.
So what do we mean by quality of friendship? How can you have a strong friendship? And one of the things that we spoke about on Friday that I think is worth mentioning again is this. The technical term for a strong marital friendship is positive sentiment override. That's really technical, isn't it? So, which means that their positive thoughts about each other are so pervasive that they tend to supersede their negative feelings. That's beautiful. So when something negative does happen, because you feel so good towards each other, that you're not going to jump to a negative conclusion, you're
rather going to continue in this positive vein. Now, if you've had a habit of negative thinking, you can change that. It is hard though. It's sort of like if you walk across a field and it's very tall grass. Is it going to be hard to walk through that field? Yes. But what if you walked across that field back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for 90 days? Then what will you have? A pathway. That's what happens in your brain. The more you do something, the easier it is to do it again. And so if you've been in a habit of negative patterns of behavior and thinking, now you have to get off that pathway and go on a new pathway. It's going to be hard to get onto that positive pathway, but it gets easier the more you do it. And you just let the grass grow over the other one, right? And don't go back to that. When you get tired, though, I will tell you this. When you get tired, Ellen White says there's a law of the mind that for every period of exhaustion, you have a corresponding period of depression, and it always targets your weakest point. That means when you get tired, you tend to think negative, okay? You just do. When you get hungry, you tend to think negative. And when both go together, you're hangry, and then they both go together. And then you have a negative.
But also stress. Like if you're under a lot of stress, or even if you're sick. Like, so if you're exhausted, if you're hungry, if you're stressed, if you are sick, that all affects that lowest period, which is, which goes to your lowest point.
So keep that in mind, because the devil will always tempt you to think when you're in your lowest point, you never were a Christian. Well, that's not true. You're just at your lowest point, right? And when you stumble and fall, don't point your finger at yourself or at others, right? Just understand maybe you need some rest. Maybe you need a vacation.
Happily married couples turn towards each other instead of away. They live by the motto, when you are hurting, my whole world stops, and I take care of you. Isn't that beautiful? When you're in pain, when you're hurting, everything stops, and all my attention is on you. Can you remember the first two principles that we discussed yesterday? What was the first one? Anyone?
Yes, your love maps. So,
enhancing your love maps. Good.
Which means?
Which means just having a deeper knowledge of your spouse or your partner, right?
And you can do that by asking questions, right? Open-ended questions, and discussing how you see each other.
And what was the second principle? Yes, nurture your fondness and admiration. So keep on appreciating each other and expressing your gratitude for each other. That was the second principle. Now we're going to look at principle number 3. And the third principle is to turn towards each other instead of away. So turn toward each other instead of away. And this really means connecting and engaging with each other. When you connect and engage, for example, read the Bible or listen to a sermon together. Have a conversation while you are eating a meal. Do you know that 1/3 of people in the US don't eat meals together? Like families don't eat meals together anymore. Like less than 1/3. And when they do eat a meal together, guess what? The television is on. And connect like that.
Or they're staring at their cell phone.
Yes, that's the other thing. So, and then the second thing, so connect and engage, and then let them know that they are valued during the grind of everyday life. So value each other. Let them know that they are valued. I have one example of this couple, and the mother-in-law comes and visits and spends time with them. And the parents, the in-laws, in-laws are Italian, and so this wife decides that she's going to book a restaurant for them to go and have a lovely, delicious Italian meal together. Them with their in-laws, so the four of them, the two couples. And when they get back, the mother-in-law has already made the husband, her son, his favorite meal, which was veal. And so she spent the whole afternoon cooking this meal because she knew that it was his favorite meal.
That's the mother.
That's the mother. So they get back, and this wife is thinking, I can't believe she did this because she knew that we were going to go to a restaurant and I'd made the booking. And now she's cooked this meal and it's my husband's favorite. So this could have gone really bad, but guess what the husband did? He went to his mom and he said, Mom, thank you for cooking this delicious meal, my favorite meal. But we have already made arrangements to go to the restaurant. This food can be put in the refrigerator and we can enjoy it tomorrow. But tonight, we are going to go out to the restaurant that my wife booked for us to go. What do you think that did to their relationship at that point? Can you see how he turned towards her?
His wife.
Towards his wife?
Not his mom.
No, not towards his mom. Do you think his mother was upset?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she was hopping.
There was flames coming out of her ears.
She was not happy at all because she had spent the whole afternoon making veal at a taken time, and it was his favorite meal, and now he's saying, no, I'm not going to eat your food. Right? We're going to do what my wife had the original plans. Right? So just little things like that, valuing each other and turning toward instead of turning away.
This is very critical because a man is often caught, especially if his mother's there, a man is caught between two women here, right? Mm-hmm. Whose side does he take? He always has to take his wife's side. Always. Remember that. Doesn't mean you're not loving your mom. You still love your mom, but you take your mom, your wife's side first. Okay? Yes?
That's the exact principle of you should leave
Leave.
your mother and your father and cleave
Right.
to your wife.
Yes. Very good.
That's very good.
That is an interesting word in English, cleave. It also means to cut, to separate, but it also means to unite. Right? English is strange. So here's another way in which you can turn towards each other. Bid for each other's attention, affection, humor, or support. Also, when you turn towards each other, you are funding your emotional bank account, sort of like that bucket that's being filled, right? It only takes a small gesture, I should say gesture, instead of gestures, to lead to another and then another. So just a little bit every day. So one small gesture, even if you're not together, just send each other a text. If you knew that your partner was going through a tough time today, maybe having a difficult meeting or something that was happening in their life, they had to make a difficult decision, you could text them and say, hey, I'm praying for you. How did it go? How is it going? Right? Just to say, I'm with you through this.
So turning towards operates under a law of positive feedback. Like a snowball rolling downhill, it can start small yet generate enormous results. Like Mike had mentioned, right? Sending a text, and then that makes the wife feel so good, or the husband feels so good, and so they're going to respond by sending a text back, or it's just these little gestures that have an enormous result in the end. So here's two obstacles or roadblocks that occur in this turning toward instead of turning away from each other. And the first one is missing a bid for connection. So let me give you an example. Let's say I don't enjoy folding laundry. Like, I'll do the washing and I'll put it in the dryer, but I don't enjoy folding laundry and putting laundry away. So the dryer goes, the thing goes off, what do you call it? The signal goes off, the little dinger, to say that the load is done. And as that happens, I kind of grunt, or I'm like, So now, that is a bird, right? I'm giving this bird this grunt. Mark could miss the bird and not pick it up. Or you could say, what's wrong? Why are you complaining, or why did you grunt? What's happening?
I would know.
And then
I wouldn't ask.
and then he would say, then I would say, well, the dryer's gone off and now I have to fold the laundry. And then, so that's a small gesture, right? And he would say, okay, don't worry, I'll fold the laundry, right? So then he would come up, he would take the laundry out, he would put it on the bed, and he would fold it. And as he's folding the laundry, he would play his favorite song or listen to a podcast or something, right? And then I would come into the room listening to his favorite song or listening to the podcast. I wouldn't necessarily have to fold the laundry. I would just sit there because I don't like doing it. But he's connecting with me. He followed up the bird, and because he's folding the laundry and he's happy to do it, I'm now going to step in to make the task go past quickly, and then we can end up doing something together. Going for a run or going for a walk together or prepare a meal together. So can you see how one grunt ended up becoming something that we did together? So he didn't miss my bird.
But if I did, that would not be good. Okay? So you kind of have to be in tune.
Yeah.
In tune.
And the second one is being distracted. We need to be truly present, and unfortunately devices rob us of this.
And when devices rob us, we're talking about really rob us. This is pretty scary, but in North America, the average couple talks to each other 35 minutes a week. 35 minutes
And
a
that
week.
talk is not deep conversation. It's just who's going to go pick up the kids from school. Right? So who's going to go and do, like, can you go and pick up some butter? We've run out of butter. That is the conversation. It's not deep conversation. It's just plans of what to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I know none of you are in that category. But when that happens, so many people will say to us, you guys work together all the time. Don't you get tired of each other? It's like, no, we don't. We actually love talking to each other and communicating. Those first 35 minutes will be finished in the first 35 minutes of the day for us. It's just, for us, that's become who we are. And we've decided on that, and we love being together. Some couples just can't make that happen, that's fine. But you're trying to communicate, to understand, and the more you do, actually there's a whole lot of things, the more we do this type of thing, the more I find out about Rene. I mean, we've been married for what, 27 years? So 2 tips to enhance turning toward. Number 1, fill your emotional bank account by noticing how your partner has been turning toward or giving towards you, right? So this is constantly filling. And the next one, have stress-reducing conversations. Now we'll talk about that in a minute, but how to have those stress-reducing conversations, not stress-enhancing conversations. Now if you know when you come to the end of the day that you have something on your mind that you want to talk to your partner about, you probably, if it's a stress-inducing thing, don't do it at the end of the day. Wait till tomorrow morning, okay?
Especially not before bed at night.
No.
Like before you go to sleep and when you're lying in bed. Don't do it then. That's a bad idea. So this is what stress-reducing conversations look like. You need to remember the following when you're having a stress-reducing conversation. You need to be an active listener. And in order to be an active listener, you need to stay focused. So you need to really pay attention and listen to them. Don't give unsolicited advice. If she does not ask you for advice, or he, but I'm saying she because mostly women just need to be listened to. Men are fixers. They want to fix things. So when I tell him what's happening, he wants to fix my problem. I don't want him to fix my problem. I just want him to listen to me. Right? So don't give unsolicited advice unless he or she's asking, what would you suggest? Can you help me? And so understanding must always precede advice.
That should say proceed.
So going back when your wife says, I don't like folding walls.
Yes.
Send me your YouTube video on how to
No, that's not a good idea. So, we know of a situation with an accountant. And accountants are very good at spotting mistakes. That's their job, okay? So this accountant, he works on spreadsheets every day. So he thought he would do his wife a favor. So he made a spreadsheet with all of her faults and how she could fix them. And he was really loving towards her when he was doing this. So he listed, it was quite a long list. It went on for about 3 pages. And so he put together this Excel spreadsheet and he gave it to her. And he was so kind because he knew exactly what she needed because this is the way he thinks. It didn't go well, okay? In fact, that marriage ended. So this is very serious. You don't look for mistakes and try to fix them. So that was an extreme example, but it's true. So take your partner's side. Rene talked about this already with the mother-in-law. And don't back the opposition or his mother. Express we, us against others, so we're together, and show affection while you're talking, and then validate emotions. Now, when we talk about validating emotion, I want to give you an example. There's a video on YouTube, you can look it up, and this lady is complaining because she has a headache. And she just keeps on going on about her headache, but she has a nail in her forehead.
Can you see the nail there?
And so the husband looks at it and he's just listening to her, but he says, but there's a nail in your forehead. And she's like, it's not about the nail, right? And then he keeps on trying to say to her, look, we could fix this. And she's like, you don't get it. I just don't feel right. Something's wrong with me, right? So this is, it's so hard. It's so hard to see what the problem is and want to fix it. But she doesn't want you to fix it. She just wants you to listen to what she's going through. Very difficult to do. And when I watched this, I laughed my head off. But I learned this lesson that when my daughters were little, they would cry. And instead of trying to fix them, I would sit on the ground with them and say, oh, you're really, really in pain. You're hurting, aren't you? You don't like those shoes on your feet. Yes, I don't like them. And I'll say, oh, that's terrible. I know what that feels like. It just feels so, it just owie and it's pinchy. Yes, it just hurts. Instead of taking the shoes off her feet, I'm just identifying with her pain. I'm not trying to fix her. And then she'll say to me, Daddy, can you take them off my feet? Great. But if I go and I try and take the shoes off her feet, oh, it's not good, okay? She just wants to listen to the pain. She's going through pain and I'm trying to fix her, but she doesn't want that, right? She wants, because that's just the way it goes.
So that's validating emotions. So you're validating the emotions.
Yeah.
So here's another one. Don't ask why. It almost always sounds like criticism. Why are you feeling like that? Why? Instead, ask, help me understand how you think that. So why are you thinking like that? Help me to understand.
Not why.
Not why. Why are you feeling like that?
Help me.
Help me, yeah. And then this is a very good one. Repeat back to them in your own words. That is an active listener. If you can listen so well to the problem and then repeat their pain or their hurt or their feeling back to them better than what they expressed it to you, do you think that they will feel heard? If you can do it even better than what they said it to you, so you have to put it in your own words, then you are going to feel understood. Because it's like, wow, you've just done a better job. Like, yes, that's exactly how I'm feeling.
It's hard though. We did a marriage for a couple. They got married. They came from 2 different countries. They met online, which is not always the best, but it was working for them. And so we did the counseling with them, and they ended up getting married. And so we sat down and we talked with them, and it was fine for a number of years. And then they had a real breakdown in communication. So they asked us to come over, so we came over and we were listening. And then the wife said, he doesn't understand me. So he's like, I'm trying. I said, okay, just tell us about one thing. Just have a conversation in front of us about something that you struggle with. So she started talking, and I said, just listen to her, and then tell her what she said. But say it back to her better than she said it to you. Okay. So he listened. And she talked, and she was really sharing from her heart. And he said back to her the exact, not his words, her exact words to him. Exactly, word for word. And then she looked at me, and she said, you see, he doesn't get it. And I looked at him, and I said, she's right, you don't get it. He didn't understand that he had to listen to her emotions and not her words, right? If you listen to a person's words and not their emotions, you're going to get it all wrong. Let me give you an example. In the Bible, the Apostle Peter turns to Jesus. Now, Jesus has just done something wonderful. He has come to the boat late, early in the morning, and he said, hey guys, how's it going? And they said, it's terrible. We were fishing all night and we didn't catch a single fish. And then Jesus says, take the net and throw it on the other side of the boat. So he's like, I don't know how that works, but the fish are on both sides of the boat. But okay, if you say so, we'll throw the net on the other side. He throws the net on the other side, and he catches so much fish that he can't get them into the boat. He jumps out of the boat, he goes to the shore, and he falls on his knees, and he holds onto Jesus' feet, and he says, get away from me, Lord. I am a terrible sinner. So Jesus says, okay, I'm going. Did he? Because his words, were they really expressing his emotions? Jesus listened to his emotions, not his words. His emotions were, get away from me. His words were, get away from me. His emotions were, don't leave me. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference. And if you don't listen to the emotions, you will miss the conversation completely. And you think, but they said this. No, they didn't say that. They used those words, but that's not what they were saying. Right? And so listening to the emotions is way more important, and the body language, of course, than listening to the words.
Okay, so here's another way of saying just what Mike said. Listen to the sadness instead of relieving it. So once again, listen to the emotions, and then also listen to the anger too. So listen to the emotion. Don't take it personally. right? And also, while your spouse is upset and angry, do not tell them to calm down. Okay? That's not going to go down well. So just listen, like Mike mentioned earlier on, to the emotion and not to the words.
That's so critical. That's really, really hard for us because we're in the middle of it, and to listen to that, because a man's heart rate goes way up. A woman's, when a woman is expressing emotions, they say that her heart rate really doesn't go up at all. A man's, when he's listening to those emotions, his heart rate is like through the roof. And he's thinking to himself, oh my, I'm in trouble. It's like, and when the worst thing that a woman can say to a man is, can we talk about our relationship? Let's have a talk about our relationship. The man's like, whoa, what did I do wrong? Right? It's like, what's going on? No. You just kind of have to remember, wait, this is not combat mode. This is a different mode altogether.
So here's the next principle that we want to discuss with you. Let your partner influence you. The next principle, let your partner influence you. So how do you do that?
How do you do that? Well, tell the story. Okay. So, before we put those words on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was this guy, he's got car keys over there, and he went to go and buy a new car. Was it a Toyota?
No, it wasn't new. It was from his friend.
From his friend.
And so his friend, it was a very good car. I think it was a Toyota as well.
Yeah, it was a very good car. I don't think it was his friend.
Oh,
he goes and gets, okay.
Are we having conflict here?
We are.
He goes to buy this car. And this car is a Toyota. It's in a good condition.
And you never get a bad Toyota.
Yeah.
But in this story, it was true.
He looks at it's a real good condition, and it also has low mileage. And so this person is saying, okay, this is let's close the deal. You take the car, let's get the car. And so he said, yes, I'm really interested in this, but my wife and I had this agreement that before I make a purchase of a car, I have to take the car, or I have to get someone that knows a very good mechanic who's a friend of ours to come and check the car over first. That's an agreement we've had for years. So this guy that's selling him the car is furious. He's like, what do you mean you have to get your wife to come and to send someone to come and look at the car like a mechanic? Do you always let your wife tell you what to do? And he's like, yes, it's an arrangement that we've always had. Like, this is what I'm going to do, I'm sorry.
And then he said, don't you get permission from your wife before you make a large purchase? And he says, no, I'd never do that. And he says, well, how's it going in your marriage? And he says, well, actually, we're in the process of getting a divorce. And he says, well, what was the conflict that you had? And he says, well, yeah, I guess I don't tell her I don't let her tell me what to do, right?
Yeah.
Especially with my cars, right? So anyway, they got the car.
Anyway, they got the car, so he
got checked out.
Got it checked out by a mechanic. And when he put it on the hoist, they realized that the bottom of the car was very badly damaged. Right? There was something with the strut or something.
Yeah. And there was also a problem with the transmission.
Yeah. So, so because he did that, can you see how he let his wife influence him and how it turned out for the better?
It turned out well.
Mm-hmm. So this principle is the most difficult for men to carry through, to influence, to be influenced by their wives. When a man is not willing to share power with his partner, there is an 81% chance that his marriage will self-destruct. That's a high percentage, 81%. Men who allow their wives to influence them are happier if they allow their wives to influence them.
It's hard for us to do, right? But it is better for the relationship. So, An overly compliant wife, that is one who's constantly giving in to him, leads to depression for her, because she's giving in. This is not submission, right? This is completely giving up your own identity when you're overly compliant. Submission means that you are under, right, the same mission. Does that make sense? That means you are trusting the individual. So why would Sarah submit to Abraham? Because he loved her and she trusted him. That doesn't mean he made all the decisions, but she trusted him to make the right ones when she wasn't there, right? So it does lead to depression, and this is not good for the marriage. When a husband accepts his wife's influence, it strengthens their friendship. And women are more intuitive about reading and understanding emotions. Just happens to be the case in most cases. And why is that so?
So women generally have better people skills than men, and often women are more emotionally intelligent than their husbands for one simple reason. They've had an enormous head start in acquiring the skills.
Okay, now you have to explain that.
And this happens from a very little age, when they are young, okay? Think about boys and girls playing tag on the playground. If you watch boys playing tag on the playground, it is all about the game. They are so focused on the game and trying to catch each other or run away. So it's all about the game. But if there's a group of girls playing together, they are more relational. So it's all about the relationship. So if they are playing and one little girl says out loud, "I don't want to be your friend anymore," the whole game is going to stop. All those girls will stop playing. They'll look at the two girls who are having a disagreement. And if those girls decide they don't want to be friends anymore, the game will stop. And if they decide they are going to continue being friends, they'll continue playing the game. So can you see, from a very young age, we are relational. We are very relational. Boys and girls, there's another example that they use about a little boy and a little girl who've grown up together, so they're friends. I think they were 4 or 5 years old. And so they're playing, this little girl convinced him to play...
He'd be the father.
He'd be the father, she would be the mother, and they would have a baby.
And then
So they had her dog.
a newborn baby.
A newborn baby.
And they were going to go and visit their friends and show the baby. So he's driving the car, and he's going to show the baby. And then they get to the friend's place, and then they're showing the baby, and now he's being a father. And eventually, he gets tired of this game. And so he wants to play it as a boy. So he says, "Oh, this baby's dead. I've got to take this baby to the hospital right now. Get in the car." So she plays along, she gets in the car, and he's going all the way to the hospital, and he gets there, and then he gets into the hospital. "Oh, I saved the baby's life." Now he's the hero.
So he says, "I'm going to be the doctor and you be the nurse."
Yeah.
She's like, "I don't want to be a nurse. Why can't you also be a doctor?" So then they have a disagreement. So then he's like, "Okay, you be the nurse. You be the doctor." So then they were both a doctor, and they put an IV on the baby, and so it was all relational.
It became relational, but it was sort of his game of being the hero. And so there was both going on there. But there comes a stage, and I think it's like about age 7, where boys just want to be with boys, and girls just want to be with girls. And they just play boys' games and girls' games. And so that's a really interesting. So when that happens, the girls just nurture, and they're learning that skill, so that when a man actually moves in and marries a woman, he's like, "What is all this emotional stuff?" Right? Because he's just not used to it. That's not his game. His game is a game, and you play to win. You don't play this game, right, of emotions. And so you got to learn it. And so that she's more in touch with, you know, how emotions work.
So husbands, learn from your wives.
Right. That's the important part. So men with high EQs are amazing husbands and fathers. So we can work on that and improve it, of course. So here's an exercise to do.
Okay, so you're going to just discuss this. Sometimes you make a bit of a mess in the living room when you get home from work, but you usually clean it up after dinner when you have more energy. One night, when you haven't cleaned up, your wife says, "It really makes me mad the way you leave your stuff around. I'm tired too, and I wish I didn't have to pick up after you. Why can't you clean up before dinner?"
So, let's talk about this. What is reasonable about her request? What is reasonable? Let's ask that question. Yes?
You haven't cleaned up.
You haven't cleaned up. That's true. That's reasonable. What else is reasonable about it? Anyone? I'm just looking at this again. Right. Is he tired? Okay. So he hasn't cleaned up after dinner, but usually he does it when he has more energy. So it sounds like he's a bit tired and she's a bit tired too, right? Okay.
But she's just asking him to clean up.
Yeah.
Can you please clean up? Right? Like, can you just clean it up?
Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
What's that? No cooperation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you say in this situation, guys?
I'll clean up after dinner.
After dinner, okay.
That it never happened.
And then, or next day.
The next day. After dinner could be at another time. Right? Sure. What's that? No comment. Okay.
Because I'm watching the hockey game.
Okay.
How can you fix it?
Yeah.
Besides prayer.
Okay. That's how could you? Are you asking us?
Yeah, you could pray, or can you see that this is a bird? Can you just clean up? Like, I'm tired, and usually you do. So, usually you do clean up. Can you see she's frustrated and irritable? Right? Because it says over there that he does make a mess, but he does clean it up. So she's saying, please, can you just clean up before dinner?
Yeah, but she's asking for total consistency.
Total consistency.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Zero tolerance. Okay. Yes.
So she's tired and irritable. So one thing would be, someone said it, just clean up.
Yeah.
Right? Just clean it up.
So there is a conflict here, though, and that is he's feeling tired. She's feeling tired. He doesn't want to do it right now. She wants him to do it right now. So in that conflict situation, you have to say to yourself, okay, what is the higher ground? What is the ground that I'm going to take in this relationship? Yes.
Well, that actually goes both ways, because in this case, if he typically does clean up,
yes,
she's focusing on herself and not on him.
Correct.
She may be thinking, well, maybe there's something that happened to him today.
Right.
That's put him in a position where he's not able to clean up today. Well, honey, well, what is it that happened? Why are you not able to clean up today?
That's right.
As opposed to, well, you should do this for me.
Right. She's not saying what's wrong with you. Right. She's just saying what happened today. Right. Yeah. Good point.
So I think it's also kind of reinforcing positive behavior.
Yes.
Supportive behavior from the husband.
Yes.
Because from the first lines, it shows that the husband actually used to, but this particular night,
yes,
he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So letting the husband know observation is all reinforcing positive behavior. Yeah. And the husband should be a supportive husband.
Yeah.
More so that she is just tired.
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah. So, very good. So understanding tiredness, I think that's part of the equation, but turning towards and let your spouse influence you. It's a difficult